So, yes, MagicCon Atlanta experience. So, had a good trip overall. It was a good time. So for how it works, for those who don't know, is that at these Magic Cons they have two PTQs that are, I guess, are usually sealed. I've only done it a couple times now. So it was Edge of Eternities sealed day one, and then top 32 makes it to day two, which is a draft. So that there's like four draft pods, and then the winner of each pod makes the Pro Tour. And there's like a bunch of great pricing as well. So you have to go at least X11. I believe there were usually 8 rounds. You have to go X11 or 611, and that locks you for day two. And then if you go 6-2, there's a very small chance you make it, depending on the number of people. Like there will probably be like 2 or 3 people who make day two. So anyway, here was my sealed deck, and sorry for like the not so great quality here on the photo, but basically I'll just go through the deck real quick. And for the creature slot, we have in the 1 drops we have a Gene Pollinator, Starport Security. 2 drops we have Sunstar Expansionist and Starfighter Pilot. 3 drops we have a Dual Sun Adepts, the Meltstrider Eulogist, and the Thawbringer. And then 4 drops we have quite a lot. So there's Drix Fatemaker, Ice Cape Crasher, double Sunstar Lightsmith, which is very strong, Sea Chip Agrarian, and then Big Bomb Might Form Harmonizer, the one that doubles power. And then in the 5-drop slot, well, I have the Broodguard Elite, which is the X green. I just put it here for curve consideration. And then on auxiliary boosters, which I count as a creature because it comes with a body. And then an Anti-Causal Vestige as a bomb in the 6-drop slot, which you can also warp on 4. And then for the Dawn creatures, not too many. We have a Lumen Class Frigate, which is the Anthem spacecraft. And then we have the Biosynthetic Burst. We have double Radiant Strike as decent removal. We have a Pinnacle Kill Ship and the End Stone on the top end. We have this Atmospheric Greenhouse. So let me go through and this is like the only mistake I would say in the build. And I mentioned this in the Blue Sky post, but yeah. Anyway, so where I was going with this build is I identified real fast that I was 100% playing white because my white was very, very strong. And then the green was also pretty good. I mean, we got the Sea Chip Agrarian, Biosynthetic Burst, and all that kind of stuff. And then some decent curve filler creatures, some nice aggressive cards, and of course the bomb Might Form Harmonizer. So I knew I was going to be green-white, right? But I was debating splashing red for the Mythic Rare Sammy, the 6-mana 4/4 double strike vigilance, and it gives all of your spells affinity for artifacts, which, we have like some amount of artifacts here, but also just a 6-mana 4/4 double strike vigilance can really get the job done. And also the Possibility Technician, the 3-mana 3/3 Kavu in red that has warp for 1 in a red, and you basically impulse draw the top card of your deck, and then as long as you control a Kavu, you could play it. So I was really debating splashing those two for a very long time, but with about 5 minutes left in deck construction, I was like, no, what am I doing? Like, why am I playing these cards? I could just be straight green-white. I have great counter synergies. So I believe I cut those 2 cards, and I also had a Sammy's Curiosity in the deck, which is what I ended up swapping the greenhouse for every single round because, I mean, look at the deck, right? But, at the time you got the pressure and you're trying to build the best thing, and so I would say that was my big mistake, right? So anyway, I cut the Sammy's Curiosity. I cut the red cards. I added, I believe, the Broodguard Elite and I don't know. I was debating between one of the 4 drops, so either Fatemaker, Ice Cape Crasher. I threw those in, and then I'm like, wow, this deck is so counter synergy. Let me shove in the Atmospheric Greenhouse. So Atmospheric Greenhouse is one of the worst performing cards in the entire set. So, and just the play path, even in a deck like this, the only deck construction where a greenhouse is somewhat acceptable is if you have a very low curve and you go like 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop, 4 drop greenhouse. And that's just not what this deck is about. This deck is about setting up and then going bombastic with the big creatures. And so adding a 1/1 counter to like 2 or 3 creatures is not very good. But I will say I definitely ran hot this event, and I got pretty lucky because a lot of times in game 1 I would not see the greenhouse, and then in game 2, I would see, and games 2 and 3, I would see the Sammy's Curiosity, and it would help me ramp into my big stuff. Sammy's Curiosity, not usually great, but when you have a lot of 4 drops, because the curve of going Sammy's on 1, ramp on 2, 4 drop on 3 is very strong. So, for example, one of my sickest sequences in the event was turn 1, Sammy's Curiosity. Turn 2, ramp with Sammy's Curiosity. Turn 3, warp out a Vestige. And then end of turn, put land 5 into play. Turn 4, Vestige, just like cast. The opponent plays a Cryo Shatter on it. So on my next turn, I play land 7, and then I attack with the Vestige, so it will die. And then with the Leaves trigger, I put in a Pinnacle Kill Ship for free, kill the opponent's creature, and then I put 2 more creatures down, and I'm never losing that game, right? And then the sickest thing I did was I 20'd my opponent on turn 5, because basically we had a nice setup with, I think, Gene Pollinator, and we had 4 lands and Sea Chip Agrarian and a Gene Pollinator out, basically. So end of turn, I was able to just tap the Sea Chip Agrarian to add mana, but mainly it was just to make a lander, right? So, and then luckily my opponent, they just added a few creatures to board. They didn't kill anything. So on my turn, I'm able to warp Might Form Harmonizer, play land, and then it gets the counter, and it doubles. Then I crack Lander, and then I crack Lander, put another counter, and double it again. So I believe it went from 3 to 4 to 8, and then 8 to 9 to 18, and they were at 18. And then plus I also had the Gene Pollinator still to attack with, which was pretty sicko. So, but actually I realized I could have done 21 damage instead of 20, because what I could have done is play land, let the counter resolve, and then with the double trigger still in the stack, crack Lander, get the other land. Now those triggers go on the stack, so I get another counter, so it goes from 5, and then the 2 double triggers resolve, so it goes from 5 to 10 and 10 to 20. So that was pretty cool. That guy was actually pretty cool. We had a nice conversation afterward. Like, he was so impressed, he just shook my hand and was like, "Oh, dude, that was sweet." I'm like, "Okay, let's go to game 2." And then he stumbled on game 2, and it was a little rough, but shout outs to that guy. He did not make day 2 that day, but on the second PTQ he also day 2'd. So very good player. But my deck was really, really good. So I think that just goes to show, don't get too lost in the sauce. So, you see this deck and you're like, oh my god, like Meltstrider Eulogist and Drix Fatemaker. Imagine you put the greenhouse down, you add all the counters. You just want to you want to play as many good cards as possible. Like, you don't need to play bad cards to make your good cards better. And instead you want to try to fill in your sealed deck with stuff that will just go along with your strategy. And I think the sealed prep that I did for this event was very helpful. And you can't really see. There's nine forests, 8 plains. So like pretty straightforward. Of course, Endstone Big Bomb on the top end. And overall, I think I played really well. My match 1 was actually kind of frustrating because I was already feeling kind of bad about afterward. It's like, oh my god, once you register the deck, you have to register that deck game 1 every single time. So anyway, so I'm feeling kind of bummed. It's like, this greenhouse is burning a hole in my pocket. And then in match 1, I'm playing against not a very great player, or maybe they're a good player, but they're just not familiar with the format at all. But I'm like stumbling on lands, and I'm just getting Magic the Gathering. I don't think it was really like a skill difference there. So I'm just feeling so whatever after that first round. Like, okay, maybe try again tomorrow, right, for the second PTQ. But then, we come back, I make the swap, and then my deck does disgusting things in round 2. Round 3, my opponent doesn't show up, which is completely wild to me. I don't know why you would drop at 1-1. Like, you still have a shot. It's hard, but maybe that person just like, man, my deck sucks. So anyway, and then we were 2-1 at that point, and then I won 4 in a row. Just absolutely crushed it. and a lot of games were not particularly close, but there were some close ones. I think I played very well, so I felt good about that. And then I was a little worried because my breakers were very bad, so I was one of the lowest X1s. But like I said, X11 guaranteed makes it. So if I pair into another X1, which you should, right? You should pair into someone the same record as you. You just draw in 611 ID, and then you're good to go. But because I was the lowest, one of the lower X1s, there was a chance I could pair down. And if I pair down, my opponents say an X2 or like a 511, they are forced to play, and then I have to do another win and in basically. But thankfully, I paired against another X1. We ID'd. It was actually some guy that I met during the deck registration. He seemed like a cool guy, so that was fun. Good times. So then, anyway, so that happened. Felt pretty good. I just got a good night's sleep, and then here we are for the draft. So let's start with the deck. And so basically, what happened with this is we 204'd quarters and semis, and then we lost in the finals after winning game 1, which was really sad. But I'll go into the games in a second. So here's the deck. There was another picture where I had the plains and the islands, but I think I'm like knocked over a card over here or something. So anyway, there's 8 plains, 8 islands, and then the secluded Starforge. So just to give you an idea. So anyway, I mean, it's overall like a pretty nice curve, right? Curve of creatures. So I'll go through the deck again. So in the creature slot, we have, in the 1-drops, we have a Starport Security. In the 2-drops, we have a Mech and Shieldmate, Steel Swarm Operator, Pulsar Squadron Ace. I put the Night Luminary here just for, to make the deck appear to look better, basically. But no, but Night Luminary, you're totally fine playing that on turn 2, right? And then 2 Nanoform Sentinels, which were excellent in this deck. Not really a great card, but man, they popped off here. 1 copy of Selfcraft Mechan, 2 Sunstar Lightsmiths, again, and an All-Fate Stalker, not 2 copies. Ostelli Reclaimer, which is the 5/4 flying rare that rebuys a non-creature, non-land card with mana value less than or equal to the mana spent to cast it from your graveyard to the battlefield, which I realized is not optional. So there was one game where I was going to win anyway, but it was kind of funny. I played it, and I'm like, okay, this is not optional, so I will get my Cryo Shatter. You have no creatures. I'm forced to equip it to one of my creatures. It didn't end up mattering, but it's kind of interesting. Not a May, or not an up to. And then a Starfield Shepherd, which is pretty good. And then Wetblade Enhancer, as I think that was actually, we'll see in a second. I got this second to last pick in the whole draft, and I'm like, hey, that's pretty good. For second to last pick in the entire draft. And then Secluded Starforge as our rare land, so not bad. In the non-creature spot, in the 1-drops, we have 2 Cryo Shatters, Synthesizer Landship, which was Lab Ship, not Land Ship. Lab Ships, that's the one that turns into the 4/4 Flying Vigi, and can turn your artifacts into 2/2s. Pretty solid. It was my pack 1 pick 1. Pack wasn't like super strong or anything, but I really liked that rare, so I was pretty happy to take that. There's a Focus Fire. There's also a Mental Modulation, which I am kind of just slotting into the 1-drop slot for curve consideration because I kind of want to treat this deck like a tempo deck. And good, obviously when you play on your turn, it costs 1 mana, and it's good for double spelling, good with the Sunstars. Okay, and then in the 2-drop slot, we have Cryogen Relic, Divert Disaster, Ilvoy Lightjammer, and a Lumin-class Frigate. And Frigate, of course, again, being the Anthem spacecraft. So, a couple things. So, for one thing, the one thing I was unhappy with at the end was the fact that I saw 0 Banishing Lights and I saw 0 Radiant Strikes. And I think just one of those would have really, really helped. Just having a nice hard removal spell. I mean, double Cryo Shatter is also pretty good. And a Focus Fire, not bad removal. So now, let's look at this is the pick order. So going from left to right, like a book. And then, so pack 1, pick 1, Synthesizer, pick 1, pick 2, All-Fate Stalker. I think this was really a pick that it seems pretty obvious in hindsight. Basically, I took All-Fate Stalker over a Mouth of the Storm, the 6 and a blue, 6/6, Ward 2, -3, -0's their board for a turn. It's pretty strong blue uncommon. And, if you're not thinking about drafting a deck and just drafting a bunch of good cards, you could think like, well, All Fate Stalker and Mouth of the Storm are pretty good, right? So why not take a blue uncommon to go with my blue rare? Well, I mean, there's a few things, and I think that shows like the format knowledge. Well, one, All Fate Stalker is a much better card, I think, than Mouth of the Storm. Mouth of the Storm is really good. I really like Mouth of the Storm, but I don't think Mouth of the Storm goes in the same kind of deck that Synthesizer Lab Ship goes in. You really want your Synthesizer Lab Ship to go in either blue-white or blue-red, because you have a lot of artifacts, you have a lot of cheap spells, and then you're able to more easily, turn it into a 4/4. So I think for that reason, just taking All Fate Stalker there was correct. And from that point, I already felt locked unless something like crazy happened, right? And in this format, I feel like you are kind of rewarded for locking in early and just, sticking in, cutting everyone out, and just drafting a good deck. And I think that's what I ended up doing here. So, pick 3, we got a Pulsar Squadron Ace, which, can find your Synthesizer Lab Ship, which is not bad. Pick 4, Cryogen Relic was a little wild to me. So it made me wonder, it made me think that maybe it's a pretty high-powered pod, just because people are not gonna, I don't know, they either didn't value it high enough, or they just opened such crazy restrictive bombs that they had to take cards in their colors. I don't really know. I think Cryogen Relic is ridiculously strong and stupid, so I was very happy to get that. I got a Pinnacle Kill Ship pick 5. I think it was a weaker pack. I don't really like it in blue-white because you want to be cheaper, but it's fine to have. I'll just go through the rest. Night Luminary, Steel Swarm Operator, Cloud Sculpt Technician, I think, Mech and Shield Mate, Ilvoy Light Jammer, Sinister Cryologist, and a bunch of crap. Okay, so pick 2, Starfield Shepherd. I'm trying to remember what I picked this over. I think it was close. It might have been a removal spell, which I think at this point I was looking for, but Starfield Shepherd, just really, really good. I didn't have any 1-drops at the time to get, but, it's a good way to not flood, or not screw, because if you have 2 lands in hand and you play Starfield Shepherd on 2, you get that plains, that's pretty nice. Ostelli Reclaimer, again, the rare that buys stuff back. Then we got our first copy of the Sunstar Lightsmith, Self-Craft Mechan to go with Cryogen Relic, the Frigate, pick 5 Frigate, it was pretty nice. Another Sunstar Lightsmith, the Cryo Shatter. I felt pretty not a little bit of desperation for some removal at this point, so I'm happy I got that. The Mental Modulation, which I just love in blue-white. I think it's a really good card there. Space-Time Anomaly, which I kind of chuckled a little bit as I got, and I'm like, no. And then it was very interesting. We got Gene Pollinaire Sledge Class Seed Ship in a row, which I thought was kind of weird because I think they're very good green cards. Like it's really hard to say. Sledge Class Seed Ship is a very good green card, like a very good green rare, because the play patterns with it are kind of absurd if you build your deck correctly. So maybe like in red green, because it has that magic number 7 for your, I almost said crew cost, for your station costs, because you can go like 2/2 on 2, play this on 3 saddle, and it's a 2 or station, and then you play a 3 powered creature, and then you double station and you can attack with your Sledge class. So that's why I say 7's the magic number for the spacecraft. It's a big difference. Melded Moxite is one of the higher performing red cards, actually, so I was kind of surprised to see that late. Okay, and then in the final pack, the final pack is where things, I think it was overall, it was not bad of a pack, but there were definitely a couple picks. I don't quite remember all of them, but I was really feeling the pressure because, it is a competitive level event, so they're timed drafts, and so you don't have as much time to think about it. You also can't look at your cards. So I'm trying to, for example, the first 3 are pretty self-explanatory: Secluded Starship, Starport Security to go along with our Starfield Shepherd, another Cryo Shatter's removal. Then I see this Focus Fire, and then it's also versus, I'm going to sneak a peek at my other deck. I already forgot what it's called. Yeah, the Starfighter Pilot. Okay, so it was Focus Fire versus a Starfighter Pilot. So Focus Fire is the much better card in a vacuum. But at this point, I was trying to remember, wait a minute, okay, so I have my 2 good spacecraft, which are cheap, and it wants me to have cheap creatures. How many cheap creatures do I have? It's like, how many combos? It's like, okay, I remember the Night Luminary. Like, I'm trying to go through, how many 2-drops do I have, right? So I was like, okay, I already have 2 Cryo Shatters, so do I need this Focus Fire? Will I get the Starfighter Pilot later? And I wish I had my deck in front of me, and I wish I had like 30 more seconds to think about it. But I mean, that's just how it goes with this competitive events. So I took the Focus Fire. I don't think it was necessarily like wrong, but I think it was definitely something that I was definitely thinking about it. Oh, and also I took the Starport Security over a Dual Sun Adepts. And Dual Sun Adepts I think is a great card. 3 mana 2/2 double striker, and then pay 5 mana, Anthem your team. But I wanted the double spelling. I wanted the 1-drop for Starfield Shepherd, and I mean the Starport Security is pretty good. I mean, there's some stuff that puts counters on things, I think. So yeah, pretty good. Also, we already knew we had the double Sunstar Lightsmith, so you really want a double spell, like very much. Anyway, so then we got a Nanoform Sentinel, and then I felt very good about passing the Dual Sun Adepts, because I think, well, Nanoform Sentinel's not incredible or anything. It has great synergies because we have the 2 spacecraft, and it just fills the 3-drop. It's an artifact. It's got a lot going for it. So I actually liked picking that up. We had some pretty sicko curves. There was one turn where on turn 4, I had a Nanoform Sentinel out. I played a Sunstar Lightsmith. Then I attacked with the Nanoform Sentinel, untapped a Plains, and then post-combat, I cast a Starport Security, triggering the Lightsmith. So yeah, I got to have some pretty nice value plays. I took a Fel Gravship. I think overall it was like a weakish pack, and so it's just like just take the best card so the pod doesn't have it. Pinnacle Emissary, I just remember being shocked by this, and I'm like, if I have any way to produce red mana, I'd probably play this, but maybe not. I don't remember what else was in this pack. This could have just been a mispick, honestly. I really don't remember. And yeah, I mean, there clearly wasn't anything crazy like a Station Monitor or a Banishing Light, or I would have slammed it, right? But I thought that was interesting. I think Pinnacle, when you take it early, it's one of the better rares in the set. It can get pretty explosive. So anyway, Specimen Freighter is a solid card, but you'll notice I did cut it from the final build. I think just having a 6 mana bounce 2 things is a little expensive for the kind of deck that we were going for. So I ended up cutting it, and I was considering bringing it in sometimes, but a lot of my opponent's decks just had low curves, so I'm like, it doesn't seem super great. Divert Disaster was a great pickup. Very nice to have that. The second Nanoform Sentinel was also good. And then Lux Knight, whatever, usually not that great. Litho Breaking, I was happy to hate away because it seemed pretty good against me. And then the Weftblade Enhancer, I was like, whoa, this actually might make the deck. Like, it's pretty good. I mean, you can, first off, it adds counters for the Starport Security. It's great for, fitting in the curve in 2 different places to help with your mana efficiency. And it's, warping creatures is good with the spacecraft. So I had some pretty good, I definitely had some good sequences and some good play patterns. So let me go back to the deck. And this was our final product, of course. So yeah, so overall I felt pretty happy about the deck. And as far as the matches went, I think overall I played fairly well. Let's see. I 2-0'd my black-red opponent to start. I think my opponent got a little flooded in both games. They did have a Mutinous Massacre, but in game 2, I was able to Divert Disaster it, which felt pretty good. And then I was just able to overwhelm. In game 1, I don't remember exactly. I was talking about it with a friend, and I think I could have made I got a little bit maybe fancy play syndrome because I had a synthesizer lab ship, and then I had my Selfcraft Mechan equipped with the Ilvoy Light Jammer. But basically what I ended up doing was I turned the Ilvoy Light Jammer, into a 2/2, and then I was able to fully station up the 4/4, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting set up for next turn. What I could have done was just turn the self-craft mech in, and I think it had a counter, so it was like 4-5, and then it'd be a 5-7, I think, right? And I could have just turned it into a 2-power flyer, so it'd be like 4 in the air. And I think if I had done that, I would have guaranteed lethal on the next turn, and I wasn't really at risk of dying of crackback. Like, I don't think taking away that one blocker would have done too much. So that was a bit of a miss there. Just little things. And, at that point, my opponent could have top-decked. I think they had Munis Massacre in hand, apparently, I think he told me. And then he could have drawn the second mountain and killed me. So it's very important, these kind of things, thinking about your clock. So I think that was a slight miss there. But thankfully, we still got there. Let's see, the second round, my opponent was on blue-black. I don't think their deck was particularly amazing, but I mean, it had some solid removal spells. On turn 3, he played that, I don't even remember what it's called, the 3-mana 2/3 that warps, and it gives something -3/-0 until end of turn. And I'm just like, I've never seen that card cast in this format. So anyway, I'll go to my turn, and I win an easy game 1. I just get tons of crazy value with like the Nanoform Sentinel and the Sunstar Lightsmiths. It's pretty good. Game 2, I'm also doing some pretty disgusting value things, but my opponent's been beating me down with some like little creatures and whatnot, and somehow I'm at 3. Like, I just keep getting beat down. So there was this was probably like just one of the sillier like brain fart blunders of like the entire weekend. Luckily, it didn't matter. But basically what I did was at end of turn, my opponent's turn, they play a star breached whale, or whatever it's called. And then they tank for a while on the Surveil. And then eventually, and they have 2 mana up, a blue and a black. And then eventually they pass the turn. I have a Starport Security, 2 mana, and a creature with a counter on it. So I remember thinking at one point during the turn, oh, okay, end of turn, I'm just going to tap your thing. And then he's like, okay, pass. I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to untap, draw. And then I think to myself, wait, wasn't I supposed to do something? And then I'm like, oh, crap, I was supposed to tap the thing. And I had 3 flyers in the air, which when they all attacked the opponent would have been lethal. So I have 4 mana. I have an All Fate Stalker in hand. My opponent has 2 mana up. So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, my opponent could have a Divert Disaster. So instead, I just tap. I pay 1 and a white, tap with Starport Security. Okay, tap your flyer, which I should have done the previous turn, right? My opponent goes Ilvoy Light Jammer to give it hexproof. And I'm just like, oh, you got to be kidding me. All I had to do was warp out All Fate Stalker, and then it plays around Divert Disaster. And then if I try to tap the thing, they go to Ilvoy. I tap it with the Starport Security, and then I win. And I'm just like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. Then I attack with my 3 things, and I'm like, okay, well, any 2 of these are lethal. And it's like, no, I had a 4 mana. I had a 4. They were at 8, and he blocks the 5, and he takes 4 and 3. He goes to 1. I'm like, oh my God, I swear if I lose this game. I mean, I was very far ahead, but I figured because my opponent's deck didn't seem that great and they're in blue-black, I just kind of assumed that he had a... what's the blue-black board wipe? Someone help me. But anyway, I thought he had that Singularity Rupture. Yeah, I thought he had Singularity Rupture, and I'm like, oh my God, if he top decks that and plays it, it's not like completely over for me, but that'd be really embarrassing. And then, he did not draw it, and we got there. So 2-0-4-0. And then in the finals, I'm playing against like red-green chonk, except it's actually like a pretty aggressive curve with lots of ping damage. So like there's like an edge rover, lots of 2-drops. The 3 mana guy with the when an artifact or creature enters, you ping for 1. It also has warp. A pretty good card. So very aggressive deck, but I'm able to do some tricksy stuff with the Lumen class frigate, attack with it, and then further station with Nanoform Sentinel to untap the frigate, so then it can be like I gain life, and then I have a life linking blocker. So basically through all of that, I was able to win game 1, which was close. Game 2, honestly, I don't really remember game 2 that much. I don't think I could have done too much differently. I honestly just don't remember it, to be honest. Game 3 though is where kind of my luck started to run out. I think I keep, well, I'm on the play. I mulled a 6, and 3 lands, 3 spells is reasonable, right? My opponent keeps 7 though. So I just go land go, and then my opponent goes turn 1 Edge Rover, and I'm like, oh boy, all right. It's kind of like he stole the play from me, right? Just getting a 2-power threat on turn 1 on the draw. And then I go Mech and Shieldmate on 2. And then I think he goes the 2-mana 2/2 Death Toucher on 2. And then he doesn't attack, I think. I'm pretty sure. Or does he attack? I don't really... Well, anyway, we get to a point where somehow what's happened is I have missed land 4. And my opponent has the both of the 2/2s out. And he attacks with both. I have my Mech and Shieldmate. He is representing a Biosynthetic Burst, which I have seen, and that's how he killed me in game 2. So what I end up doing... Oh, and so I'm desperate for lands, right? I also have a Focus Fire up, right? I have a Focus Fire and my Mech and Shieldmate out. Maybe I played Mech and Shieldmate later. I don't know. Anyway, so I have the Focus Fire up. So I really, really, really want the Edge Rover to die. So what I do is, here's what I do. I block the Edge Rover with 3/2. I let damage happen. So that way I know they trade. And then I take 2 damage. And then during the damage step, still, I Focus Fire the 2/2 Death Toucher. And the reason I did that is because I did not want to blink first on the Focus Fire. I wanted my opponent to blink first. Because what could have happened is my opponent sees that I'm desperate for lands. So I could have just done that, but if I Focus Fire and try to prevent the 2 damage, my opponent could have let that happen. He could have just let the 2/2 Death Toucher die, then Biosynthetic Burst the Edge Rover, and then the Edge Rover does not die, eats my thing, I don't get a lander. So, anyway. And if my opponent, post damage saves their 2/2 and it becomes a 3/3 Death Toucher, I feel like I can kind of deal with that. Like I have ways to deal with that, but I need lands. So anyway, a couple landless draws later, I'm actually able to kind of stabilize a little bit. My opponent has a 5-power Trampler with the Drix Fatemaker, which is giving the other thing trample, and I'm able to make a 6 toughness blocker, and then and then I have another creature. So I'm like, okay, I'm safe, but I'm tapped out, and you're an untap. So my opponent does the following. He untaps. He warps out the Mightform Harvester, or whatever. Again, I'm going to refer back to my other deck. Mightform Harmonizer, not Harvester, Harmonizer, plays land. So it doubles the 5 to a 10. And I'm like, okay, I'm not technically dead, but I was also at like 4 life, so I think I'm effectively dead. Then he's like, okay, just for good measure, he plays the uncommon green spacecraft to get 2 lands. So he doubles it from 10 to 20 and then 20 to 40. And I'm like, okay, you got me. He was a really cool guy. Very good match. So I got a little bit, mana screwed game 3, and that was rough. But overall, I mean, I felt the same way that I felt after the last time after the Mox finals, where I played my best. I don't think I made any super egregious mistakes except for that one funny one. But so that was overall my PTQ experience, and I think I had a pretty solid draft deck. It felt very strong. It was doing pretty good things, and I went 0-1-6-1 in the seal. That felt nice. So yeah, I think that was pretty good. So overall, that was my experience. We will get the PT invite eventually. It's gonna happen. So for those on YouTube, thanks for watching. I'm recording this live on Twitch. You can follow me at twitch.tv/agentscone. And I guess also follow my Blue Sky at agentscone.bluesky.social. I post there sometimes. You'll see. All right, cool.